Hello, everybody, and welcome back to SportsPoint. My name is Frankie Breit, and we're excited to have you back here for the second week in a row. We'll be here all year. As always, I am joined by Brody, Kupsky, and Liam Statz. Welcome back to the show, guys. How we doing this week? A lot of stuff happened throughout the week that we're going to talk about today, so what do you think?
I'm feeling pretty good. It's, a new week and a lot to talk about.
I got to agree. It's been a very weird week.
And we're going to kick right off with that conversation. The night that we recorded our first episode last week, one of the most unforeseen things happened. I mean, you're already crying. Do we need a moment of silence?
I'm not crying. I'm laughing. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
Oh, my gosh. We're going to go
0 for 4. Well, sorry, 0 for 1, 4 snaps. That's all it was. That was his entire career with the Jets.
Entire career? You don't think he's coming back?
Oh, the dude's ancient. That's it. That's it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I know everybody knows what we're talking about, but we're going to go into a major sports storyline here. Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles against the Buffalo Bills, week 1, 4 snaps into the game. What a way. Did you guys watch the clip? Of his Achilles snapping?
I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. Our producer, Keaton, in the booth, we were watching, or I was looking at the clip, and I was like, Keaton, do you want to watch this? And he said, nah, man, don't show me that. So what do you guys think?
I was more surprised that, number one, he walked around for a little bit and was like, I think something is wrong. When if it was anybody else, they'd be on the ground, and I probably wouldn't be conscious if I'm going to be honest with you.
And to that point too, speaking of him and his injury past, what was it, 5 years ago now? Like fractured his fibula, like tore his MCL, and played the entire 2018 season.
He also broke his collarbone at one point. I mean, it's just, it was a brutal injury. And to his credit, he took it like a champ right away and just only fell over and was like, all right, I'm fine. And then, sure enough, he's out for the season.
But to your point, within minutes, people were memeing the entire thing. And I know he had successful surgery this past week. Went on the Pat McAfee show, and he was talking like, I'm going to be back for the playoffs this year, man.
I don't think so, man.
You got to make the playoffs first.
That's a great point. We'll get into that, too. His quote was, some people are going to be shocked by my process here.
Yeah. Zach Wilson's definitely 100% taking them to the playoffs. Zach Wilson is the guy, yep.
Coming off their week 1 victory, they play in Dallas, or was it?
They played
in New York.
I think they did play in Dallas.
They traveled to Dallas, we believe, allegedly. And Cowboys coming off the 40-0 shutout of the Giants.
They did travel to
Dallas in MetLife. 2 polar opposite nights there between Dallas and the Giants, and then the Jets and Bills. Jets able to pull that one off with that punt return touchdown overtime. Awesome moment. That was such a good way to finish that game.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was jumping in my living room. I'm not a Jets fan, but, it's a good story.
I will point out there was a very obvious missed tripping call.
I didn't think it was.
Punt. I think the reason they didn't call it is because the defender jumped first.
Right.
And I think that's what they're going to call it. However, it's
NFL official over here. Wow. Remember that.
Definitely.
Yeah, they travel to, arguably the hottest team in the NFL right now's home stadium, and they get killed just the same as the Giants.
Yeah,
30-10 loss. Zach Wilson throws 3 picks. Brody, you guys are just saying it. They're going to ride Zach Wilson to the playoffs, man.
Oh, yeah. Zach Wilson's the future, folks. Look at me. Zach Wilson will just lead them to the playoffs with interceptions galore and maybe a few touchdowns if he's lucky. He has the receivers to do it. Mm-hmm. He just has to put it together.
He just got to put the ball in a spot where they can catch
it. This is Zach Wilson's team, darn it.
I mean, before we get into, the Jets looking ahead, I do want to visit the injury a little bit more here. And just the reaction of Packers fans. When it happened, I'm personally gutted. I'm going, this is one of my childhood heroes down on the field who I've loved for years, who's gone to a different team for reasons that I understand. It's a business, and I totally agree, time to move on. It's time to let Rodgers go. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop supporting the guy, especially because we have so many Packers that are on that team. But regardless, I saw posts of fans saying, laughing, Jets, your problem now. People saying this brought them joy. There was that bar in Milwaukee that was giving out free drinks if the Jets lost. and when they didn't lose, or when Rodgers goes down, they all cheer.
Because
then just racked up their bill.
it's like
Exactly.
$8,000 bill
But
by the end of the
it's
night.
just like when this guy gave you a Super Bowl. This guy gave you the belief every year that you could go do something, and you're cheering for his downfall when he got hurt. Like, that's just disgusting to me.
I agree with that. And, for me personally, I was just kind of sad because now we have a second-round pick, not a first-round pick. But
That was the least of my concerns, man.
But it does, like you said, it is a gutted feeling when you see your childhood hero go down in the field, get hurt in his first game as a new quarterback of the New York Jets. It hurts, but at the same time, it's just it happens. I mean, you're not going to always have, it's not going to always be a perfect season. You might get injured, and that might be your career. Who knows? But
as a fan, I just wanted to see him go out there and do his thing. He felt like a new Rodgers, a new reinvigorated Rodgers, motivated Rodgers, which in some ways made me very angry. Because it's like, where have you been the last couple of years for the Packers during training camp and such? But
I think that's kind of why some fans were a little bit angry with him, because the second he joined the Jets, he started doing everything different from how he did on the Packers. He took pay cuts. He said, I want these players here to be with me. He voluntarily said, I'll take less money just so that they can come here and play. And everybody in Green Bay is going, well, why in the hell did you not do that for us?
exactly. No, and I get that point of view absolutely.
But to wish for a guy to be happy when a dude blows his entire leg out is that's
and a guy of that caliber at that age, you don't know if he's going to be back. Like we said, he's talking like he's going to come back. We'll see.
Love the confidence. Though.
Exactly. And I think his quote was like, just give me that one little bit of inspiration to come back, and I'll prove you all wrong.
anything is possible.
Exactly. We talked about Zach Wilson throwing 3 picks against Dallas. Great defense. We'll see if they're obviously probably going to keep riding him a couple more weeks here. But what do the Jets do going forward at quarterback? Do you think this stays the same, or do you think we got to go get a free agent? I mean, there's nobody out there.
I mean, personally, you try to ride Zach Wilson, and he honestly hasn't shown out in any of his games. So realistically, it wouldn't hurt to get a free agent if you can, but trying to find a free agent that wants to play for you and will get used to your system, it's always tough to find. But honestly, if I were the Jets, I would try it. I would try it out if they can find somebody that wants to play for them and wants to learn the system and try to lead into the playoffs. Go for it.
I think they should also do that. Carson Wentz is out there. I think he's probably got the same talent as Zach Wilson, but more confidence to throw the ball.
Boys, I did see this online today.
Let's hear it.
The New York Jets, and here, they always phrase it like this. The New York Jets signed former Green Bay's quarterback. They signed Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle!
Let's go! Yes.
Packers legend.
Packers legend Tim Boyle, right on the active roster, by the way.
Exactly, from the
Huge.
practice squad. And, he backed up Rodgers for a couple years. Even in Jordan Love's rookie year, he was quarterback 2. Love was quarterback 3 in 2020 under Rodgers.
Yeah, they're going to the playoffs with Tim Boyle.
Yeah,
Tim Boyle's taking them all the
Timmy
way.
season, man. Come on.
Let's go.
I like it. No, Tim Boyle's been a class act. I've always liked him.
We've always had a good string of backup quarterbacks for the Packers, like guys who don't get their shot, but they're still right it out. Like we had Matt Flynn, we had Tim Boyle.
The Jets are probably saying, "Hey, where's Mike White? Where'd Mike White go?
Man, they
want him
could
back.
need him.
they really need him.
They
right
need
now.
him.
They need him badly, man. With the quarterback situation in New York, I had a hot take. So I want to go into some NFL hot takes the three of us have, and mine stems from the Rodgers injury. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah, you were talking about it.
We talked about it last week. We've all talked about it. The similarities between Rodgers' exit from the team and Favre's exit from the Packers. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah, go for it.
Favre goes to the Jets. Rodgers goes to the Jets.
Do you think he's going to go to the Vikings?
That's what we talked about. So I know Zach Wilson hasn't shown it so far, but imagine Zach Wilson goes out the rest of the season and just balls out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Laughable, right?
Yeah,
Hot take, remember. Imagine he goes out, he balls out, and they're going, okay, we've made it to the playoffs. We have a quarterback. Why would we bench him when Rodgers wants to come back and play for our team? It just doesn't make sense. Guess what quarterback is in a contract year with their team?
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins and the
no.
Minnesota Vikings.
No.
Look, man.
Now, the Jets have an aging quarterback who's got obviously some juice left. Kirk Cousins, they may not want to pay the guy because he's good. He's been good. He doesn't have a team around him. That's one thing, but can't get it done in the big games. Jets might say, hey, let's get some picks back for what we got him for, and let's ship him to the Vikings.
Do you remember the fallout that happened when Favre signed with the Vikings in Wisconsin?
It was dangerous.
It was genuinely dangerous for anybody to wear a Favre jersey for a little bit.
It was scary.
It was. And at some level, got to respect the fact that you guys are that fanatical about Green Bay. But also, geez.
Yeah, man.
I think he goes, if what you're saying is true, Aaron Rodgers is just dead to Wisconsin at that point. He just doesn't come back. People will go, yeah, he's such a nice guy. They'll probably light his house on fire in Green Bay.
It took, I think, Wisconsinites 5 years to forgive Favre.
Yeah,
it was a long time.
It was a long time, and it's only because he went to the Vikings and because Aaron Rodgers turned out to be the next guy.
Now, if Jordan Love is the next guy,
Yes, we got that.
then let's be honest, if that actually happens, yeah, good luck, Green Bay. It's going to be.
Because then, I mean, we got to watch Favre versus Rodgers in the NFC North. You could see Love versus Rodgers in the NFC North. It'd be fun to watch, but boy, would I just be. I would probably cry.
I would too.
Many nights in a row.
Like, you know how we said it was weird to look at Rodgers in a Jets uniform? It would
Yeah,
just be,
imagine,
I might
yeah.
puke if I ever saw him in purple.
You know, we always played the Vikings. He'd drink like the purple Powerade. I think he'd drink like yellow or green Powerade when he played the Packers. That would hurt me too, deeply.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would break my soul.
That's my hot take for the week. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of that. I know it's out there. Brody, what do you got?
I guess my hot take. I don't know how much of a hot take this is, but I feel like the New Orleans Saints are gonna win a playoff game this year.
That is a stretch.
That's bold going into a
That is
Saints
a
week for the Packers.
stretch.
All right, let's hear it.
Look, honestly, the Saints are kind of underrated. I feel like Derek Carr can lead them somewhere with their receiving core that they have and their running back core. Jamal Williams is there. He can definitely lead a team to the playoffs.
that guy.
Packers legends Jamal Williams, by the way.
Their defense is kind of underrated too. I feel like they're always kind of top of the board with fantasy, and they honestly, I feel like they could make a run to the playoffs if they just play well enough, and especially with the NFC South being so weak, it's definitely possible. I feel like
Buccaneers are 2-0.
shout out Buccaneers.
Is Baker Mayfield
Shout
still
out
at the helm?
Buccaneers. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man. I mean, he I think threw for 1 or 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. Same thing against the Bears.
He is balling out.
I mean, I'm honestly kind of slightly
Wait, are
Buccaneers.
the Bears 0-2 right now?
Yes, sir, they are.
What happened? I thought they were supposed to
What
win.
Man,
No, I've been watching the Buccaneers because they're playing 2 NFC North teams. Beat them both. They're doing us a favor, keeping things close to the NFC North. So, Brody, I don't know if I agree with you, but that's why it's a hot take. I appreciate it. Liam, what do we got?
Okay, my hot take. Tom Brady comes out of retirement, plays for the Jets. That's not actually my hot take, by the way. That's just a joke.
That's just something we had to mention.
But I wanted to mention it because if it happens, hold it over both of you for the rest of your lives.
Man.
My actual hot take, and I think it's slowly becoming less of a hot take, but I think that the Detroit Lions run the NFC North this year. I think they finished first in the division.
I mean, that's honest. I can back that just because of what they've done the last couple of weeks. But they do lose to the Seahawks. Let's talk about that.
Seahawks. They did lose a heartbreaker, a little bit of a choke there at the end. They did allow a lot of points in the second half for the Seahawks to be able to force overtime. However, based on how they played that game and also how they played their first game of the season when they beat the Chiefs, I do think that in our division they have probably the best chance. The Bears are not doing it. The Bears are finishing 4th. It's going to be a fight for
As per
second and
usual.
third between the Packers and the Vikings only because the Vikings just somehow they can be bad the entire year, and then when the second it comes to the Packers, it's like a punching match that goes the distance. And
Except
the
for
Lions,
last year.
Except for last year. Now you made
That
me.
was a fun game. That one game last year.
I think that allows the Lions to just kind of scoot right in there, and Dan Campbell he's kind of shaping into the coach that they needed. So.
Yeah. No, Dan Campbell is definitely a fun coach to watch.
Yes.
In all aspects. the NFL has done a lot of like week 2 rematches from last year. Vikings Eagles was one, Seahawks Lions was another, I think, week 2 game from last year, which also was like high scoring in the 40s for each team last year. Lions almost fought back last year, but their defense couldn't get a stop. Kind of felt the same this year. But the Seahawks, I think, needed that more than the Lions did, especially because they came off a loss from the Rams last week. So good to see Geno still playing well. But I can't say you're wrong with the Lions hot take there. So, all right, everybody, we're going to head over to another segment here and start talking about our campus roundups. We're going to go over the scores from campus this past week. Women's tennis defeats Stout 8-1.
Yes! My brother goes to Stout, so it's a good feeling when I see Stout lose the point. So shout out Reese Kupsky.
Hi, Reese.
Yeah, he is. He probably doesn't care as much because it's not like it's football, but anything to hold it over him that Pointers won. So
I just thought you were really into women's tennis.
I mean, shout out tennis team. They aren't bad this year. So shout out to them. They're playing really well.
Big shout out. Furthermore, we have the women's volleyball team with 2 wins this past weekend: 3-0 over DePaul and 3-1 over Carthage College.
Yeah, that's huge. Especially going into conference play coming up this week on Wednesday. They play the River Falls Falcons here at Point. So first home match of the season.
That's something we've explored talking about, too, is commentating those volleyball games. Could be fun. We might see you there sometime. Keep your eyes open. I also want to add on another segment here to this campus roundup. We've got your Pointers football team traveling to go play Albion College. This is a tough matchup, boys.
Tough
This is a very tough matchup. Albion 3-0.
I think that's an understatement.
And
I think you're kind of undercutting it a little bit there. Albion College, 3-0, 40-point games consistently, have not allowed more than 21 points a single game. So,
I'm an optimistic guy here, and I'm gonna project that onto the show. What are the keys to winning this game, gentlemen?
I would say just holding them less than 40 points is a
keeping
start.
It close, huh?
But just keeping it close and just playing like you did against St. Norbert without trying to give it away here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a tough matchup. I feel like, and obviously you're not going to win every game this season. We've seen it the last how many years now. But you got to keep it close. You got to keep in it and not just get blown out by 70 points.
Please do not get blown out by 70 points.
You need to understand.
The pass rush has got to just play out of their gourds. That's what it's got to be. Defense has got to be first in the nation. They've got to be better than Whitewater's. I'll say it, better than Whitewater's defense. They have to be the best football defense ever in the history of the world in order, I think, to get us even close to winning this game. So.
They got to pick up where they left off last week. 7 sacks, a couple picks, turnover margin in their favor, and just play scrappy football. That's how you're going to take down a team like this. Gavino Lopez, let's return another one for a touchdown, man. Come on.
Tyreek Sims have 5 sacks.
Tyreek Sims, 5 sacks. That's right. We said it, man. Come on.
And Jake Lear, just ball out like he did.
Ball out.
Absolutely.
I mean, if that's being a game manager, be a game manager. If that's throwing 5 touchdowns, go ahead and do it, man. Have the game of your life. Heading into the pink game after that one. We're back at home playing Eau Claire. That's going to be a fun one, as always.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Hopefully they can go back-to-back wins in the pink game 2 years in a row.
We'll see. Hopefully it is the case, and honestly, Eau Claire could be a team to beat.
Absolutely.
Here's hoping it's Eau Claire. So
Here's hoping. Pointers football. Good luck against Albion this coming weekend, and we'll see. We'll see. We don't want to call it either way, but hey, you never know what can happen. Further football coverage. Let's talk about the Packers, guys. What was it? Yesterday, actually. Yesterday.
Was it Saturday?
No.
What games are you watching on Saturday in the NFL?
Badgers.
There you go. Packers lose. This is a tough game that they dropped against the Falcons. They lose 24-25. And, man, you're going into the fourth quarter, 24-12, 12-point lead. And, Michael Scott from The Office, that quote, I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. That's me. And we're up 24-12. I'm laying on the couch. I'm like, I'm snoozing a little bit. This game's in the bag. We're going into next week.
So what you're saying is it was
2-0.
your
That's
fault.
what I'm saying. I'm saying it's my fault. All of a sudden, Mac Hollins goes up and makes Darnell Savage's baby boy 44-yard catch over the top of his head. I mean, this is a guy who walks around with no shoes, talking about Mac Hollins, who refuses to use silverware. He's like, my hands are like Nick Miller from New Girl. He's like, my fingers are my forks, man.
Literally a hobo you find on the side of the road.
You could call him that, and I wouldn't disagree with you.
And he absolutely mossed
Darnell Savage, who
Gave
had
him the head tap right afterwards.
had a great week one. Darnell Savage had a great week one, came back, and I think had a good first half against the Falcons, and all of a sudden he's just over pursuing everything. So
all it takes is one, and then he's out of his game for the rest of the
I know.
night.
He seems to be very weak-minded. We'll see. Recapping the game, though, let's look at some stats.
I did see that pretty much everywhere people wanted Joe Barry to get fired, so we'll see.
What else is new?
We'll see what happens.
Another year
Shocker,
of
man. Oh, my.
Shocker. People want Joe Barry to get fired. Let's see if this year they actually do it or not. They keep going, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, right.
Do it.
Looking at some stats on offense, Jordan Love, 14 of 25, 151 yards, 3 touchdowns. A.J. Dillon led the rushing game, 15 for 55. 8 yards was his longest run. Yeah. Receiving, Dontavian Wicks, the 6th-round rookie, 2 receptions, 40 yards, his first career touchdown. Jaden Reed, 4 receptions, 37 yards, 2 touchdowns, both in this game. Amazing. Romeo Doubs kind of got locked down from A.J. Terrell. Had a couple nice grabs, though. 2 receptions for 30 yards. Luke Musgrave, 2 for 25. And that kind of wraps it up on that end. I mean...
Jordan Love still had a good game.
That's what I'm saying.
It's still a good game despite the loss. It's not on him. That one was on the defense. I mean, he had 3 touchdown passes. He was very consistent that entire game.
But then you'll look at, his try to sneak on the one play, and it just... His offensive line wasn't
ready.
He admitted in his press conference after the game he called the wrong word. He didn't give the right signal for that QB sneak, so nobody reacted because he shouted the wrong thing. Honestly, I don't even know if they would have heard him if he did yell the right thing.
It gets loud in there.
At that point, that stadium was booming in Atlanta.
And it's enclosed, too, so, I mean,
exactly.
It just echoes off of every surface.
Exactly. And I saw a lot of posts, who do you blame this loss on? And I agree with you. Not Jordan Love. Obviously had some accuracy issues on that final drive, but he had also had no protection.
Yeah, he got swamped
so
every
he's
single
getting
time.
hit nearly every play. But this just felt like the London Giants game last year. We're up big, and all of a sudden we're falling asleep, just like I was on the couch. We're falling asleep, and we're not closing out this game with a young, but has some nice veterans on that Falcons squad, hungry quarterback, young backs that are just, they want to win as much as we do, obviously more than we do. But, yeah, I know we were dealing with some key inactives. We had no Christian Watson, no Aaron Jones, no David Bakhtiari, and lose Elton Jenkins early in the first quarter.
We kind of felt Jones's, non-presence there. A.J. Dillon, picked it up and did the best he could, but with just him not being there, you could really feel it, I also saw something that Luke Musgrave might have hurt himself in the final closing seconds.
Oh, cool. Losing more people.
I don't know if that was confirmed or not. I haven't followed up with it yet, but if that's true, yeah, cool.
And to that point, too, Lucas Van Ness went out with an elbow injury, did come back on the final drive, so that was good to see. But I know you mentioned Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon doesn't look like he has the last couple of years.
No, he really hasn't. Honestly, he does ramp it up towards the end of the season. He starts getting in his groove. But, in these types of games, I feel like he's better in, the cold weather games. You look at Tennessee a couple years ago when A.J. Dillon was just rumbling down the field. It's snowy out in Green Bay.
Awesome.
That was just amazing to watch. I feel like he's just better in those kinds of games. But, you got to still play tough in every single game, and he did the best he could in this game, like you said.
He looked hot and cold. There were some runs where it's like, why did you not break that tackle? Why aren't you running harder? Why didn't you hit that hole? And then other ones where he's barreling guys over. So it's kind of hard to read that performance. But one of the biggest issues for him this past weekend, the turf monster, man.
It gets everybody.
So many third and short situations that he just fell over. And it's like, what are you doing? You're a professional running back falling on your face before the sticks.
But you think about it, though, if you play in Green Bay half your games, you don't play on that,
You play on actual
different
grass.
Yeah, you play on actual grass or different kinds of turf.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it's probably a lot different getting footing down. And for me, I played football on turf a couple times. It is a lot different than playing on grass, like a lot different. And like getting my footing down when blocking it's tough to do because you're not used to that. So for him, I'm sure it's a lot different. And obviously you don't play on turf every single week, but you gotta be prepared to be playing on those types of surfaces and getting your footing down, getting your reads down, and just doing the best you can.
And there was some speculation around David Bakhtiari with artificial turf where he's not going to play the games that are played on artificial turf because he doesn't want to mess his knee up further, and he's so against artificial turf. He's been so, open about that on social media.
Well, Aaron Rodgers did have his injury on artificial turf.
Exactly.
And it got to the point where the NFL Players Association actually announced that they're re-continuing their efforts to get the NFL owners to make everything natural grass, which I fully agree with. I feel like the game is played much better on natural grass, not natural gas. And there have been so many sports injuries, so many NFL injuries, just simply because of turf. And it was even worse when it was AstroTurf.
Oh my gosh, yeah. With that rumor surrounding David Bakhtiari not wanting to play on artificial turf, Matt LaFleur quickly shot that one down because I think we can all agree that's bogus. It's just going to be the way it is with David Bakhtiari the rest of his career. He's got a bad knee now. He's not going to be able to play all the games. He's going to probably play situational football in the sense that he's going to play the games we need him to play, and the ones that he's not feeling it, he's not going to. He's probably not going to practice a whole lot either the rest of his career. That's just how knee injuries go, and it sucks that Elton Jenkins is kind of dealing with that MCL sprain again after an ACL 2 years ago. So knee injuries have been bashing the Packers offensive line as of late, so that's worrisome. But other missed opportunities this game, 2 drop picks by the defense.
One of them by Alexander, and that one surprised me because it wasn't he had to go out for that one. It was right there. I probably could have caught that if I wanted to.
And people were talking that was a pick 6 on the broadcast.
It was.
Tyler Algier was just off screen. He could have made a play on Alexander.
But it's one-on-one, though.
Exactly.
So you never know what could have happened. But, you get a ball thrown right at you and you drop it. Granted, it was like a 3rd or 4th down, so we still got the ball back. But you think about it, you get it and you run up the field with it, better field position or potentially a touchdown, that maybe swings it in a different way. But obviously, you can't just blame it on that. But it's tough when you have a guy that, is a lockdown corner, has really good hands, and just drops an easy interception.
Well, think about what that type of pick in that type of situation does for a team's morale.
Yeah.
I mean, if he gets that pick, even if he doesn't get the touchdown, he got that pick, and that's what we really need in that instance.
Exactly.
The whole team's rejuvenated. Everybody wants to go out there and compete again. And I think when he dropped it, I think everybody was just like, well, crud. It just kind of felt it sag even a little bit.
Desmond Ridder threw his first career interception that game to Rasul Douglas. Would have had the Jair one, would have had the Quay Walker one. Great vertical leap up to get it, couldn't haul it in. Would have been great for the guy who had 17 tackles yesterday. Could have hauled in 2 picks in 2 games, make an early bid at Defensive Player of the Year. He's really playing well in his second year. But back to Jair Alexander, 5 receptions, 99 yards, a perfect passer rating going against him yesterday. That's one of probably Jair's worst games he's ever played as a professional football player.
I think it was just that when it rains, it pours. When it started happening, it just threw everybody out of their element, especially him, and he just could not get it out of his head, and we couldn't recover. And I think that really played in for that final quarter when we kind of let the lead slip away from us. And then I think that when they finally took that lead, I think everybody was like, man, we just kind of choked this away, and they can't get back into it. I mean, I was really hoping I'd see some 2-minute Rodgers in love there.
I know. There were some throws that game where he did look like Rodgers, and it was like, okay, 30 years. Yep, that's right. We're going for 40. What needs to improve next week? We got the Saints. I think, obviously, for one, I'll go ahead and take it. The run defense has got to change. I mean, we had a heavy front 7 look the entire first half. Then they start abusing the outside runs against the Packers defense. They're like, all right, we got to respect that. Joe Barry spreads it out, and they're going right up the middle, So we got to sure that down and play tougher defense in that sense. Bijan Robinson is his own monster. Tyler Algier, that nice compliment. So we'll see. They got to shut down Jamal Williams. There's no Alvin Kamara next week, so that's going to help us in the pass game. I would say more so than the run game with a guy like that, but I'll take it. Run defense has got to improve. What was that?
I love Jamal Williams, by the way. I was very disappointed to see him go from the Packers. Because even if he doesn't put up like Hall of Fame stats, he's such a great personality. And
great personality, great teammate. You name it. He's got it. He's a great guy.
He does.
Brody, anything you got to see improve for the Packers going into the Saints game?
Tackling it's almost atrocious, and it's like this every year. It feels like Packers just cannot tackle to save their lives. I mean, everybody's slipping off of running backs, receivers. They can't get a quarterback sack really, and when they do, it's almost like you rejoice and almost have a parade for it because it just never happens. So something's got to improve, and honestly, like getting off blocks. I mean, it goes along with tackling, but it just seemed like they just couldn't get off a block in that Falcons game at all, and you stop a guy maybe 5 yards shorter than he got, or even in the backfield if you just get off those blocks. And I know it's tough to do it, but you got to improve on it every single week, and hopefully at some point they just destroy teams.
It felt like we had it last week against the Bears, but the Bears are the Bears, and you've shown that 2 weeks in a row. And with that, it just felt like the running backs were falling forward for 2 yards every time, two extra yards on each run. I'd also like to see personally the play calling on offense get more aggressive in those fourth quarters. I mean, a lot of runs to A.J. Dillon for no yardage, a couple 3-and-outs there.
Well, especially when he's been struggling the whole game, you got to start relying on your pass game more than your running game in that situation.
Which was strong.
It was
3 touchdowns. I mean, come on.
Like you rely on the deep ball. I want to see a really good deep pass from him yet. I know there've been a couple, but it's kind of just been slants and short passes.
And we had 2 deep balls go for flags yesterday. Dontavian Wicks on the flea flicker to open the game. He was gone. Basically got tackled from A.J. Terrell. And then Trey Flowers in coverage against Romeo Doubs, also called in the flag. So it would have been nice to see that totally. I agree with you. O-line play, I think, also has to improve, but that's tough with having so
a lot of
many
injuries,
right
yeah.
Yep.
It's like a rotating door at the moment.
Yeah,
who's
I know.
being able to play, who's not being able to play, and it has to improve. I know that it's going to sound monotonous when you say you just have to block better, but that's it. That's all it really is you gotta figure out how to place yourself to give your young quarterback more time in the pocket.
Exactly.
I think that is the last thing Jordan Love is missing is just a little bit more time. And I think once that happens, we're going to see a lot better of him.
And with the offensive line, Royce Newman, 2021 4th-round pick, had a great rookie year, played a lot of snaps his rookie year, didn't play a lot last season, kind of was rocky as a starter. His first game since Week 14, 2021, didn't give up pressure. He came in for Elton Jenkins earlier in the game and had a great game, so that's going to need to stay as is going forward, especially looking at a Saints front line who's got Cam Jordan out there. So we'll see. We're going to continue to look ahead at Packers versus Saints. This is the Packers home opener at Lambeau Field. Saints are playing the Panthers tonight as we speak. Derek Carr is a new quarterback. Obviously, we mentioned no Alvin Kamara. There's been a lot of memorable Saints versus Packers at Lambeau moments. I always want to know if you have any off the top of your head that you can name, right now that you really enjoyed.
Oh, man. I can think about how the Packers got absolutely destroyed Week 1 against the Saints, but that was in Jacksonville, actually, because they had a hurricane in New Orleans. But, man, I don't really have one that comes to mind.
Oh, come on. Randall Cobb, punt return touchdown?
Oh, man, that was years ago, man. Randall Cobb.
I'm still living in the past, let's be real.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember the nice days.
Man, I remember those days. Back in my day, Aaron Rodgers was winning MVPs and not tearing his Achilles.
Oh, no.
God. But,
Do you remember the game the week after Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone against the Vikings in 2017? Brett Hundley's first start in relief of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones, rookie year, had his first big play, touchdown, right up the middle, split the safeties, and took it to the house. That was one of the great. And Brett Hundley had a run-in touchdown that game too.
I think I do, actually.
That was probably one of my favorite moments of that season, just knowing that we had a run game and a young guy who can, actually do something for us, because the run game was kind of scarce 2015, 2016. So 2017 was a nice year for Williams and Jones as rookies.
I guess the only games that really come to mind to me is games against the Bears. Like,
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's just on my mind because the Bears are terrible.
Suck.
For me, it's just, I can just remember the Saints, week one coming into, it was a 2021 season. I was super confident that the Packers were going to actually like do something and really show out, and then they just got blasted.
Yeah, no, I recall that too. Liam, you got one.
I don't actually have one off the top of my head. However, I can kind of remember the fact that the Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees did not happen a whole lot.
I
it
think
happened
maybe once or twice.
3 at the max. But those games were always slugfests because obviously 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's always really cool to see when they go against each other. It was a shootout every time. I think that Rodgers is 2 for 1 against the Saints, just total across his entire career because we don't really play them that much.
No.
But I do remember. I think it was his first game against them. We got destroyed 51-28. So, and unfortunately, that is the only thing I can remember from that.
Packers next week.
Packers lost, but
going into it though, we're gonna look at some keys to victory here. I'm obviously going to be choosing the Packers every week, but we got to come back from 1-1. I mean, everybody in the NFC North lost this past week. Lions fall to 1-1. Vikings and Bears 0-2. Packers 1-1. We've been 1-1 the last 3 years to open up the first 2 weeks, so nothing to worry about up front. But you definitely want to see them get this win. So keys to victory: you got to bounce back. You got to have confidence, have the energy. I think the home atmosphere is going to help that a lot. They went in week 1 wanting to prove people wrong, and I think they have the opportunity to do that again here. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm hoping to see. Brody.
I would say just stopping the run, just making, making the Saints kind of have to do more than they have to. They have decent receivers, Chris Olave and, Michael Thomas is kind of coming back a little bit.
Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, shout out him.
On my fantasy team tonight. Come on, please. I need to win.
Yes. They just got to, like we were talking about before, they got to tackle. They got to just do everything in their power to just stop the Saints, because after watching the Falcons just march all over them in that fourth quarter, it's almost heartbreaking, because it's like, wow, all this talk about how this defense has improved especially after week 1.
Yep.
I thought that defense was perfect and they're ready for the season, and after their Sunday's performance.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're back to the lab. Yep, I agree. Make that offense one-dimensional, and I don't think Derek Carr has it in him. He's obviously, he can sling it, but he's not someone
not that
you
guy.
can. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Liam, what do you got?
Get healthy, stay healthy. I really want to see Aaron Jones come back. I think that it was just it was a pull, right? I don't think it was a strain.
I think so.
I think that he should be at least game ready by next week. So I'm really hoping for that. And staying healthy, please don't get injured anymore. I don't think I can take it, because that's what's killing us at the moment.
And hopefully Christian Watson can also get out there, take a top off the defense, and get the deep ball that we're so desperately looking to see.
I
hit.
really want to see Jordan Love to Christian Watson. I want to see that connection happen.
Let it loose. Uncork it, please.
I'm begging for that connection to happen. And if it's another Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams scenario, we're gonna win a Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If that's that connection that they're gonna have, we're going all the way.
Yep. Yeah. All right. We're gonna change lanes here. Enough about football. Brody, got a few minutes left. Quick roundup before we finish out the show.
Part of the show.
Talk to me about Brewers, please. Talk to me about Brewers baseball.
Brewers baseball. I was actually at a game this past weekend.
Saw that via his Snapchat story. Go give him a follow.
Really, really good time. They, like we were talking about last week, they were playing the Marlins. They won three out of the 4 games of that series. They're all close games.
Happy to be wrong.
Few of them were close, but it looked really good against the Marlins. And then they played the Nationals, who they struggled with early in the season, or a couple months ago actually. But they showed out in those first 2 games. They lost the last game in extra innings. But in that Saturday night game, they looked solid starting out, 3 runs in the first inning and then a few runs here and there. But then Corbin Burns had 1 bad inning, and honestly, it was kind of not his fault, just poor calls, really bad calls. I mean, sitting there in the stands, I'm like, there is no way that is a ball. That should be a strike. But from my angle, it's hard to tell. Comes to the 8th inning, bases are loaded, and new addition Mark Hanna comes up with bat. First pitch, boom.
What a bam.
Yeah, I mean, see you later. I mean, flips the bat. It was just everybody was wild that game.
Grand
It was-
slam, right?
Yes, it was a grand slam to put them up 9-4, and then
That's
they put
awesome.
in Hobie Milner to close it out. So shout out Hobie Milner, probably
Shout
my
out.
favorite Brewer. I love Hobie Milner. So coming up this now, actually after yesterday's game, even though they lost, the Cubs lost in the last, I think, 5 games now. They lost against the Rockies 2 games, and they
Could not be happier about
they yes, I agree. They I believe they maybe took one out of Arizona, but otherwise I think they got swept by Arizona, making the Brewers' magic number to make the playoffs 7 games.
7 games. How many left? Do you know the exact number? How many left?
13.
Yeah, 13 games left. They play in St. Louis coming up, a 4-game series in St. Louis, go down to Miami for a 3-game series, and then
Back to St. Louis.
no, back at home against St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Back at home against St. Louis, and then rounding out the season, a 3-game series versus the Chicago Cubs. And by then, hopefully, the Brewers are in the playoffs, so they don't have to worry too much about the Cubs. But the Cubs now are fighting for a wild card spot. Quick look at the wild card standings. Philadelphia's kind of got their spot wrapped up. Arizona now moves into the 2nd spot after sweeping the Cubs and having a pretty good series, a half a game over the Cubs, Cubs now are tied with the Miami Marlins after they swept the Atlanta Braves. So it's Chicago, Miami,
does that happen?
Cincinnati, and I mean San Francisco's kind of still in it, but still 2 games out of the wild card. It's really come down to it. It's
Hey.
going to be an exciting finish to the season. So
That's the Brew Goo right there.
I know that we
Come
just
on.
glossed over, but how do the Braves get swept there? How does that happen?
Braves won their division. Pretty much are guaranteed in the playoffs.
So
I mean,
they're just like,
they're just kind of coasting to the rest of the season. I feel like, but they don't.
This kid who has only played Double A as a tech. Yeah,
I mean,
just throw him in there.
They have 96 wins. I feel like they're not too worried. But for the Brewers, they just got to win 7 games, or if they win a few games and the Cubs lose more games, it'll probably go down more in terms of the magic number, and we will make the playoffs. And hopefully it continues to look good. But if not, hey, I mean, Cubs missed the playoffs. That was just the playoffs. So
All right, come on, Brewers. 7's the magic number. You can do it. We know you can. You've been good all year. Let's close it out. I think that's all the time we got here for you today on Sports Point. Good luck to all the campus sports teams around the country, it feels like. We're going to Michigan, so come
Going
on,
all
Pointers. Take care of business this week. Good luck to the Packers against the Saints this coming week. We're looking forward to the Pink Game on September 30th. Join us for that Sports Point stream. I'll be there joined by Keaton Waala, our sports producer there on the streams, and then Ashton Park will join me from 90 FM. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We appreciate all the support, especially on last week's video. That was awesome to get over 150 views. Let's keep it up. Thank you to Keaton Waala, our tech producer there in the booth, Aminee Hoff, our floor producer, myself, Brody, Liam. Thanks so much for joining us today. Stay tuned for more Sports Point. We'll see you next week.